First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Consider approval of October 2nd regular session minutes.
Move approval.
Motion by Councilmember Townsend, second by Councilmember Hall. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Under announced delegations, presentation of the ADDC audit for fiscal year 16-17. You want to come forward?
I appreciate the opportunity tonight to present this financial statement to you quickly so that you can get on with your agenda, but we'll try to hit the highlights of the Albemarle Downtown Development Corporation financial statements as of June 30th of 17. If you'll look with me, I hope you have that in front of you in your placements. Page 1 and 2 is our opinion that we have on the financial statements. It is an unmodified opinion, which means it's a clean opinion on the financial statements. We got through this year's audit very quickly. On page 3, I'll explain to you why. As opposed to in prior years, that you've had several assets and liabilities to explain. This year you have cash and cash equivalents of $164,131, and property and equipment of $608,637 is exactly the same historical cost in the property and equipment. The only change is we've added depreciation expense, which is, of course, nets off of your overall property and equipment. Under liabilities, you have $460 of payables, which leaves you a unrestricted net asset balance of $772,308, which is, again, totally unrestricted as opposed to prior years, and we'll talk about that in a second. Going to page 4 of the statement of activities, you'll notice there it's between unrestricted and temporarily restricted activities. The temporarily restricted shows a negative number there, which means the board released from restrictions those funds that were in there in the prior times, and remanded that to the unrestricted portion of the net assets. So the restricted parts did go away. That in GAAP rulings has to be moved from the temporarily restricted to the unrestricted and classified in the revenues section, which gave you an overall total revenue of $428,421, made up of primarily of the types of events that you held, most notably the Outdoorsman's Bonanza, which brought in $381,646. The Winter Wine Festival brought in over $28,000, and some of the other activities brought in smaller amounts to make the total of $416,419 of program service revenue. You had some rental income and some investment income there to make up the rest of the revenues. Your expenditures under program services were primarily the expenditures for these programs that you had for events and programs. To a large extent, $344,788 of that amount was for these type of expenditures for the direct cost of the programs. And your management in general was $64,311, making total expenses $442,545. Your overall net change in net assets was a negative $14,124 in the overall effect. Again, you brought over $24,000 of the restricted into the unrestricted amounts. which gave you an ending net assets at the end of the year of the $772,308. The statement of cash flows, which is on page 5, will indicate to you the change in net assets, again, a negative $14,124, with other things flowing in. Here's where you can see the amount of depreciation that was affected there, $27,748, and some other effects on assets and liabilities, with repayment of some debt of $20,015. Your overall effect on your cash and cash equivalents between last year and this year was a negative $36,822, leaving your cash and cash equivalents at the end of the year $164,131. On pages 6, 7, 8, and 9 are your notes to the financial statements. Again, I will bring your attention to note 3 on page 8 that gives you the net property and equipment, which shows you the historical cost of over $1 million in historical cost of land, clearing costs, buildings, and equipment, net of depreciation, accumulated depreciation of $608,637. Again, on page 9, note 7 details your program event expenses of $344,000, so you can relate that to the overall program and event incomes. Page 10 breaks down your schedule of functional expenses into program services and management in general. You see that ties to the other 2 numbers in the front, with, again, program event expenses being the largest thing and depreciation expense being the next largest, I guess, with cleaning and maintenance costs under management in general being the largest cost there. The only other thing that I would bring to your attention, which is not in this report, but it is an additional letter that we issue about internal control, and we found that there were no material weaknesses that exist to your internal controls that have been identified to us. So we feel like the internal controls in the system are adequate to be able to depend on the type of activity and transactions that occurred during the year. And that's my report.
Council, don't want you to be alarmed at the negative numbers that he talked about. That's because we paid off the loan, but also there's been a very big investment in redoing Market Station, and that will continue this year. So there's another good chance you could see negative again next year as some more work is done at Market Station, trying to bring that back up to par and where we think it needs to be. Council have any questions of Maxton?
I'd just like to say that how well this is done, I think Nancy Joines is back in the back of the room, has been our treasurer and has kept a good eye on what's going on. Thank you, Nancy.
Benton?
That did pay off that note in full, did it not?
Paid off the note in full and started all the repairs that are going on.
And is this our first audit since they came into our fold?
Yes, that's
okay.
correct.
I was thinking that it was.
Further questions? Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 3, your monthly departmental reports are in your agenda. Anyone have any questions?
I just have one,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor. I noticed on the one they were talking about the freight elevator at the 52 water treatment plant.
We don't have a report on that yet. We're waiting on Mr. Leonis to bring that report to us.
Okay.
That's still being
It's a
evaluated.
compliance issue, so I was wondering
Yes,
what that
it's still
entailed.
being evaluated.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, we'll move on into new business. Number 4, consider additional information and request for reconsideration of the conditional use permit. Mr. Robinson, he's here to answer any questions. You have some information in your agenda where the gentleman is asking us to reconsider that. In order for us to reconsider that, I understand there has to be some kind of substantial change. Am I correct, Mr. Robinson?
Yes, you are correct, Mr. Mayor. And I do apologize. We did receive the application from the gentleman late last week, and I thought that it had been placed in your packets. I guess we didn't. I don't think we sent that over to admin, though, unfortunately, so that's on us. But I wanted to pull this up for you and show you, just kind of scroll through it a little bit to show you what is on there. This is in addition to the letter that was provided.
Just for point of clarification before he starts.
I'm not trying to do the hearing right now or anything. I just want to show you all the information that you requested.
Let me just a point of clarification for question. So 2 weeks ago, we did not extend it,
That's correct.
but his original 6 months was not yet up. Is that correct?
That's correct. It was not yet up.
Okay, and when is that up?
I think it's the 26th of this month.
Okay.
And he would be, if he's got this application in until, unless council were to decide that it would, should not be reheard, we would allow him
To go
the opportunity to continue with that until you guys do hear it.
Okay.
Usually how we do things, once you have an application in, we wait until it's actually been heard before we finalize any decisions on that. And he was of the opinion that, they didn't really provide a whole lot of information for you. He wanted to be able to offer a little bit more. Thought that might help with the clear up some of the questions there were about the application. So this is what he submitted. He does try to answer a few of these questions a little bit, and provided some pictures as well, which I'm not sure if all this was in the original application or not. Again, I'm not trying to hold the hearing right now or anything, but I figured I should, since this is kind of an odd case, give you the, make sure you at least seen the application. And that's all.
What are our options?
Well, this would be, this is council's opportunity to either basically you get to decide whether or not you want to have a hearing for it at this point.
Council needs to decide whether they want to set a public hearing to go forward or not, or if has he done anything to change your mind or made any substantial changes to what was heard at the last public hearing.
Per our ordinance, the application, any new application has to be substantially different from, and it doesn't really quantify what substantially different is. We would prefer y'all make that decision.
Another point of clarification.
Sure.
So we are being asked tonight to make a decision to allow and to call for a public hearing based on part of what we're being presented right now, Kevin, for the first time since it wasn't in the packet. Is that correct? I don't feel comfortable doing something that I have not. I mean, I've just, as we have scrolled through these pictures, I've seen things.
Yeah.
I've seen what was attached to the to the agenda packet, but this is all new, what we see on the screen. So personally, I am not, at this point, willing to move forward on anything else because I've not even looked at what's in front of me right now.
Okay.
What's on the screen. That's just me.
To that point, if the original 6 month deal is up on the 26th, today's the 16th. What are our options? I mean, if we don't do something tonight, I mean, we're not going to meet again before the 6 month.
He's got an application, and if you don't do anything tonight, if you want to consider it again at the next meeting and decide whether or not you want to call for a public hearing at that point, you can. We would basically allow him to extend that until you've reached that decision.
So you would allow him to extend from the 26th?
Because he has an application in before the deadline for the CUP to be up.
Could we not look at this issue on Wednesday night when we meet at the end of the planning and zoning meeting?
You can decide whether to set a public hearing,
Right.
yes.
And then that way it'll give Kevin them some direction on whether or not
And that's good. Like I said, I have not even seen his answer.
Yeah, and I apologize. We got this in late last week. As I mentioned, we've been asking for it and asking for him to provide, all the stuff that he said he wanted to, and I didn't realize we hadn't gotten it to you, so that's on us.
Then
Council votes to delay consideration, then to the next meeting. And if that's at our next regular meeting, you would let him operate because the application is in and council has
correct.
not made a decision.
That's correct.
So council has the opportunity to either review it after their planning meeting or look at it at the next meeting if they vote to delay the consideration. Okay.
And I'm fine with that, Mr. Townsend. I'm fine with if you can send us what's here
Sure.
on the screen as additional information, so we'll better have at least before us to be able to read between now and Wednesday night.
Yeah,
I'm fine with looking at it Wednesday night at the end of planning and zoning.
Yeah, I'll get it to you guys tonight, so you've got it ahead of time, a couple days to go through it.
Do you want a motion to table it till Wednesday?
Just a question. Michael's not going to be there Wednesday night.
Oh, that's right.
Do you need to be there for that? I think so.
Think so?
I meant, yeah. Well, Michael not being there, I'm more comfortable with if you delay the vote till the next regular scheduled meeting. But I would like for Michael to be there when we discuss this.
I so move.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Bramlett, second by Councilmember Dry to delay this to the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Okay.
Which will still allow him to stay in operation until we make a decision.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Robinson, would you contact him and let him know that, but also ask him if he has any more information he wants to present to us, to have it sent to us? Thank you. Number 5 is ordinance 1733 to establish regulation for the use of golf carts on public roads. One of two things can occur tonight, council. We just got this ordinance a few minutes before the meeting, so I do not think we want to consider passing that tonight. I have heard some discussion by some of the other council members that voted for it last time that they wanted to reconsider. So you have one of two options. Let's either delay this to the next meeting, or if somebody is wanting to reconsider, I need to hear that motion.
Motion to table until the next meeting, ordinance 17-33.
Motion by Councilmember Townsend.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Whitley. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, consider proposals for asbestos abatement for the E.E. Waddell Center Gymnasium. In your agenda, you have multiple quotes. The first one is 3 different quotes on the asbestos removal. The low bid is Abatemaster out of Lexington at $14,442. Second is $18,000 Concord asbestos abatement, and get the lead out $22,850.
Get the lid out.
I like that name.
Look at the asbestos out.
I can't even get it open. Here it comes. Get the lid there.
One question, does this also include the locker rooms at the back, or do
No,
we have?
this is nothing but, there is no tile in the locker room.
Oh.
It's cement floor.
Okay, so-
But it does include the
floor.
lobby
Yeah.
and the gymnasium floor, getting all the tile up and the asbestos from that.
Okay, all right.
I move approval of the low bid.
Ms. Kaiser, just a minute. Did you clarify the email I sent you? So that we're good. Okay. I have a motion by Councilmember Bramlett to approve Abatemaster, the low bid.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Townsend. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Question.
Sorry.
Where did these folks come up with their square footage? That's a 99 by 72 square foot building inside the gymnasium, which is 7,128 square feet. It's not 75, it's not 76, and by golly, it's not 8,000. When you add the foyer in, that's a 15 by 22, which is 330 square feet, so we're under. The Abatemaster's close. I'm just a little disappointed. I think they took what we were talking about and threw the numbers together. I'm a little disappointed that they're not spot on target here.
All 3 came out and did measurements.
That's interesting.
They got 3
Because I shot it with a laser.
I know that Get the Lid Out had a laser. I wasn't on site when Abatemasters came out, and I also know that Concord did it by manual tape measure.
Yeah, but 99 by 72, I don't care how you slice it, how you dice it, is 7,128 square feet, and I think that's what we talked about up front months ago. But
It's not 8,000.
just wanted to, I'm a little disappointed that, unless I don't know how to measure, yeah, but it's a little confusing, because that affects their square footage price.
Yeah, it does. But not to the extent, not to that extent.
Well, I know that, but it's still
Oh, wait a minute. I know.
getting right.
I know. Because you've got 75, 76, and 8,000,
Yeah.
right?
We have already voted and approved the abate master. Lisa, would you bring that to their attention and see if they understand the square footage and all, and make sure whether they're correct in their bid, or should it be lower?
No change orders unless it's not.
Unless it's lower.
Number 7, consider E.E. Waddell Gymnasium flooring proposal. Also in your agenda, you have a list of the items that they have quoted and the proposals for doing more than one thing. One is the floor. The second is removing the bleachers, which will have to be done, and also putting up the volleyball system, which will not require us hooking to the walls anymore and trying to keep our walls sealed. So we wanted to change that also. You have the proposal in front of you. The entire project price is $77,788.82. If you'll recall, we have in our budget money to do this year, but we are just a little short, so we will have to come back and do something later on. $30,000 of that is coming from the Rotary. They're donating, put $30,000 to the project, and we have.
I think we have $75,000
Has been budgeted.
but
So
that includes the $30,000 from the Rotary.
So if you look at the 77 and the 14, you're about 92,000 roughly for the entire project. So you're a little short of what we're planning on doing. So we'll have to come back and make a budget amendment later on if council agrees to accept this.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
On the removal of the bleachers, won't the bleachers already be out there from the asbestos abatement?
We have to remove it before the asbestos abatement will come in.
This company's going to do the bleacher removal in advance
In advance
of the asbestos company coming in. The asbestos company comes in, does their work. They leave. They come in and put the floor down. And when the flooring company is done with that, they're still on site and put the bleachers back. So the flooring company handles all the bleacher moving.
The timing is great, though, but the companies working together. I mean, it really.
Well, we're kind of in a time crunch.
Yeah, we are. December will be here 31st.
Well, we really want, what's going to happen, Lisa has had to make arrangements where they can do their practicing at other locations, but we'll be ready by game time, which will start at the first of the year.
About how long is the asbestos abatement process? Is that like a matter of two or 3 days? Or?
I think I don't know. I think they're ready to work on it, but we got to get the bleachers out before they can start.
I didn't see that in the proposal, and I was just curious the time frame.
I'd say at least a week. I don't know.
It's a slow process.
The abatement process itself is about a week, and then it needs to sit for about a week, and during that time they'll do air monitoring to make sure there's no asbestos in the air. And then so between that time, we'll be ordering the floor. That is about a 2-week turnaround to get the flooring in. And then it'll take about 2 weeks to put the floor in, and then it needs about a week to sit and cure.
Wow. And then it's in the end of the process.
Yeah, it is. No, we're right at it. So if nothing goes wrong right now, have a tentative schedule of being finished by December 15th.
Wow.
That's 8 weeks, because 10 weeks today is
That's really pushing it.
Yeah.
That's a tight window.
And if council remembers, you chose a blue floor, sort of
With the gray out.
with a gray border, and then there'll be multiple colors, whether it's volleyball, the basketball lines, or pickleball courts. We're all setting all that up on it, if you recall all that. If council's in agreement, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Councilmember Dry, second by, who was that? Councilmember Townsend. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Kaiser, where are they on that last, laying that block so you can finish that before the floor comes in? Are they about ready to lay that?
Yes, sir.
I know the painting's been done. I was in there today. It looks really good.
Yes, it does.
So they're going to lay that block and then we're ready to go.
Yes.
Thank you. Number 8, ordinance 1734 to amend the Moorhead Park project budget.
Move approval.
Council, we received a $5,000 grant from for tree grant, and we had to match it with $5,000, so we need to put that in our budget. The $5,000 match was already in the operating budget, but we
Right.
need to move it to the project budget, and that revenue came from the Department of Agriculture. Motion by Councilmember Hall,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hughes. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, you have consideration for a special event permit for downtown Christmas open house. Information is in your agenda. Anyone have any questions?
Move approval.
Motion
Second.
by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Bramlett. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 10, consideration of special event permit for the Downtown Fall Festival.
Move approval.
Motion by Councilmember Hall,
Second.
second by Councilmember Hughes. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 11, consideration of a hold harmless agreement with the Stanley County Schools Early College. Mr. Ferris, you want to touch on that?
Sure. I know Lisa Kaiser, Parks and Recreation Director, was contacted by the school system regarding use of the Albemarle soccer complex. And Lisa, jump in if I say anything that's not correct. But in case there's an emergency or for any reason they need to evacuate the building up at the community college, they want to assemble at the soccer complex, which is under our control and our under our lease with the actually with the college. And we've got something like that currently in place with Central Elementary as a staging area at this location. If they have to evacuate, move away from the facility, they actually come down here. So it's just a safe place to locate all the students should they need to evacuate the school. And that's not the community college, it's the early college.
Even though we lease the property, we can still do that with them, I guess.
I haven't asked the city attorney that since we leased it, but it's under our control and use. And the community college does still own the property. But I didn't think about that, but when we have soccer games up there, we probably have assemblies of more people than what this would even bring. Yeah.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Townsend, second by Councilmember Hall. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 12, consider bids for the scrap metal declared as surplus.
Move approval. As presented in those different list of classifications.
5 of the 6 were from Foils Incorporated and 1 from Butch's Scrap Metal were the high bidders.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Dry. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Number 13, update on proposed meeting with the Stanley County School Board. At the last meeting, we requested the city manager to contact the school board about meeting with them. We would like to sit down and meet with them. They had a very busy October, so Michael has provided them with all the dates that we have, because we have a very busy November. And hopefully we will find a date that we can mutually agree to and meet sometime during the month of November. Council have any questions or concerns? Number 14, reminder, the North Carolina DOT will hold a public officials input session regarding 2427 widening project. The public session for us, public officials, is at 3:30, Anderson Grove Church, Thursday afternoon. And then there is a public session at 5 p.m. for all the public to come in and look and see it. Michael, myself, and Ross met with DOT today to review it. They did address a few concerns that we had at our last meeting, and overall, I think we'll be fairly well pleased with it. They're going to we had some concerns about traffic going to go back toward Troy. So they're going to beef up Hillcoast Street and Bonnard, make it 24-foot wide, repave it and everything. Even though they're our streets, they're going to put in a large culvert in the corner down there and make it more of a sweeping curve rather than like a left turn as it is now.
At where?
Hillco and Bonnard.
Oh, okay.
So they're doing what we need there to fix all of that. We looked at all their plans, and it looked, to me, it looked very, very good. I know there was some concern about the ABC store by their employees at the last meeting. There is a left-hand turn lane, so anybody coming from the Troy area can turn directly in. The only effect I saw is people leaving the ABC store will have to turn right, go to the circle, and then come back up, rather than just being able to turn left. So I think it's got very minimal effect on the ABC store. They all had some serious concerns at our last meeting about that. So I think that's covered. Any questions?
We'd be there at 3:30.
That is totally up to you if you want to see the plans or not. It's a drop-in. It's
Okay.
you come and go. Council have any questions? Concern? Coming around the table. Mr. Ferris.
Don't have anything.
Mr. Townsend.
Just one item. I don't know. I'm quite sure Kevin Robinson and his staff probably already noticed it, but I've seen some of the green clothing drop boxes starting to reappear. I know we had a big issue with that probably about 2 years ago.
Yes, we adopted an ordinance, so if you see one, I would tell him where they're at.
It's out there by Arby, in back of Arby's, by that eye place,
I see that.
Ms. Hughes?
No comment?
Mr. Aldridge?
No, sir.
Ms. Hall?
I've asked Ross to check into, I didn't, Kevin did, and Ross told me that he had today, there is a 2-hour sign on North 2nd Street. It's at an insurance business headed north on 2nd Street at almost the intersection of Montgomery and 2nd.
Correct.
There's a 2-hour, and they can't find, neither Kevin nor Ross, and Ross said nor Nina, to his knowledge, have been able to find where anybody ever asked for one to be put there.
It was requested by Nationwide Insurance when they were there.
And they're not there anymore.